لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. Welcome to another episode on the Deen Show. Today we're talking and giving you, we're going to be, God willing, giving you some evidences, some proof that the Quran, which was compiled over a span of 23 years, which is revealed not just to the Arab, but to the white, to the Chinese, to the African, to the American. It's a guidance, it's a book, an instructional for the whole of mankind. My next guest is going to come out and he's going to give, this is a topic we can talk on for days, but in this short episode he's going to give some of the top reasons that you can ponder over to come to the same conclusion that over 1.5 billion people all across the globe have come to, that this is indeed not a man-made book, not a man written by Muhammad or any man. This is indeed a revelation for you to follow, to be successful, not only in this life, but in the hereafter. When we come back, my guest, Noman Ali Khan. You don't want to go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Deen Show.
Deen. Allah, there's only one God and Muhammad is his messenger. Allah, la ilaha illallah. Allah, there's only one God and Jesus was his messenger. Allah, la ilaha illallah.
I don't know why I did that. Maybe it's just to break the ice. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Very good, alhamdulillah.
I'm glad and happy to have you here on the Deen Show.
Good to be here.
And we're going to get straight down to business. People who have watched possibly the other show, they know that you run the Baina Institute.
For the most part, I teach Arabic,
Yeah.
and I teach, I just recently started a seminar on behalf of Baina Institute called Divine Speech,
Yeah.
which looks at the literary miracle of the Quran. So it looks at the Quran from the literary linguistic point of view, and it's designed for English-speaking audiences.
Okay, so they can show, we have actually your whole story of how you really used to be an atheist, and then you, that whole story is on the other show that we did with our brother. You can go on thedeenshow.com and look for Noman Ali Khan. He'll have his own section there on the Deen Show. But today, there's some sincere people out there that are looking for the truth. Now, they might have come from a different way of life that they can sense, they can see that they're intelligent enough that these are man's fingerprints all over these different philosophies, theologies, and they don't want to follow a man-made religion. So we don't want them to put Islam in that same category.
Yes.
So tell us, how would somebody know that this is indeed a revelation from the Creator of the heavens and earth, this Quran, this book?
Establishing that the Quran is actually from Allah, from the Creator of the heavens and the earth, the Lord and Sustainer and Provider of all, it's absolutely critical for a number of reasons. For the most fundamental reason being that if you are absolutely convinced, after some pondering and research and reflecting on the evidences on your own, if you're absolutely convinced that this is in fact the word of Allah, it's the word of the Creator, then thereafter all the doubts are removed. So this is the fundamental doubt that has to be attacked, that has to be tackled before anything else. And once this has been tackled with, any other issues you might have become irrelevant. So it's at the heart of the matter. Now, the Quran has been looked at as the ultimate miracle by Muslim scholars from the very beginning. And this is a topic that has been the subject of Islamic scholarship for now a millennium and a half, from many, many, many different angles. Some of those angles, like the most common angle, is the most difficult to explain in English. Why? Because the idea is that the Quran is miraculous in terms of its language. Something in the way Allah speaks, something in the way that He communicates His message, is so profound and incredible that it can't even be translated. The message can be translated, but the miraculous beauty of the words can't be translated. Now this is the part that's a long discussion. You can't really do that in a 30-minute or 10-minute
Give
kind
us
of thing.
things that'll tantalize us, that'll get us excited to want to go and do more research on
Okay,
this.
now just to give you a taste of this topic. The Quran, for example, one of its unique literary features is that the Quran, a lot of it rhymes. A lot of it rhymes. And you know, you could say, well, there's other literature that rhymes. But the amazing thing is you have these extended long passages. The ends of each ayah or verses, it's called, it rhymes, and all of a sudden the rhyme breaks. And then the rhyme comes back again. right? You know, in modern literature, you have the idea of paragraphs and footnotes. Like if you have a paragraph and there's one comment that the author wants to make that's a sort of a tangent, but you need to understand it before going forward, they'll put a superscript 1 or a subscript, and then they'll have something at the bottom of the page or refer you to another page or another book even. The Quran does this incredibly in audio form, meaning Allah is talking about a subject, all of a sudden He'll change the rhyme scheme so the listener knows that this is a footnote. This is something that before I go any further, I need to understand this footnote and then come back to the original subject. Yeah. So actually paragraphs are even organized phonetically. This is incredible in terms of literature, that entire passages in discourse is organized just by the sounds that are being produced in the passages. Now you can't translate that. But that's actually not what I want to emphasize in this episode. What I really want to talk about are some areas of the miracle of the Quran, at least 3 of them, that are easily identifiable and people can ponder over them, outside of the language issue, that make the Quran unparalleled and miraculous. The thing of it is, to appreciate what makes Quran miraculous, we have to understand the challenge of the Quran. The Quran actually issues a challenge. It says, if you are in any doubt, in kuntum fi raybin mimma nazalna ala abdina, if you are in any doubt over what we have sent upon our slave, bring something like it. Bring a surah like it. Bring 10 surahs like it. Bring a Quran like it. So the idea of the Quran is, if this is not from God, you should be able to produce something that competes with it. So let's talk about how can somebody compete with the Quran? What does that mean? One way in which that is understood is, Allah says in the Quran multiple times, He says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. This is number 1. He says, we made the Quran easy, we facilitated the Quran for remembrance, and also means for memorization, for memory, dhikr. Now the thing is, in this ayah, Allah says He made it easy. He didn't say the Quran is easy, He said Allah made it easy. So there's some kind of divine intervention here that makes the Quran easy to be understood, or easy to memorize. Now I personally am a testimony to this, but more than myself, hundreds and millions of people on the face of this earth that are not Arabs, that come from very different ethnic backgrounds, children and adults of all ages, both genders, without photographic memory, have memorized this book beginning to end, cover to cover, all, in some prints 604 pages, all 604 pages, exactly in identical form down to the way they're supposed to recite each syllable. So just to give you a hypothetical scenario, if there was a child in Australia and who's memorized the Quran at the age of 10, 12, I know 7-year-olds that have memorized the entire thing too. And these are not exceptional kids, that's the amazing thing. This is, if you train your children, this is a norm. Actually, there are some villages in Sudan and Somalia where the entire villages memorize Quran. The mother, the child, the guy who delivers the groceries, everybody.
Have you met anybody that's memorized, say, the whole Bible or what we have of the Bible?
I know people that know a lot from the Bible, but not cover to cover, and it's not a cultural thing. And there may be people with super exceptional photographic memory that are able to do so. But this is Allah making it easy for anybody.
For anybody.
For anybody. Like, for a good example, actually, in my opinion, a great example is Imam Suhaib Webb, who's one of the great da'is. He actually he became Muslim much later in his adult life, started learning Arabic, and he's actually already memorized the entire Quran.
He's an American who accepted Islam.
He's an American who accepted Islam, traveled abroad, and actually memorized the entire Quran.
Parents didn't speak Arabic, so teaching
nothing at all. So here, the example I wanted to make, the Australian memorizer of the Quran meets a Chinese Muslim who's memorized the Quran. They don't speak each other's language. They, besides Assalamu alaikum, which is the universal Muslim greeting to greet one another, they could say that much. But they can't really even ask each other how you're doing, because they don't have the same language. Yet, when these two people start reciting the Quran, and one of them recites, the other one can actually finish it. He recites half the ayah, half the verse, the other guy can finish it. They know exactly what they're saying for all 604 pages without even looking at the text, just in conversation with each other. Completely perfect strangers meet up at the airport, they're praying together. The guy leading the prayer makes a mistake in something he's reciting. People in the back can correct him and say, no, actually, it's this way. So even if somebody makes a mistake in their memory, hundreds of thousands of people are there to correct.
So it's been preserved, it hasn't been, is there any additions, things, different versions of the Quran?
So here's the next, this issue is very central. The Quran is miraculous in its preservation, and Western audiences have to look at this different perspective. Our idea of preservation is archives, books, parchments, paper, documentation in libraries, transcripts. This is how we archive stuff, right? We are arguing that a much more powerful means of archiving and storing a document is having multiple sources, hundreds of thousands of people, memorize the same exact document from the very beginning. So now you have, for example, if you had a written copy of the Quran, which by the way, like in ancient times, in one city, an entire village, maybe there's one copy, but thousands of people that have memorized it. So the actual means became memorization. Why is that more powerful? Because a transcript can be edited, right? And especially if there's just one copy of it.
Yeah.
But if you have 1,000 people that know it by heart, I mean, put it to the test. I mean, this is the challenge of the Quran. You take all the Bibles in the world, all the Old Testaments, all the New Testaments, all the Torahs, all the, you know, the ancient Hindu texts, etc., etc. You get rid of them. You hide them. You put them away in a vault. Also the Quran. You put it away. Nobody has access to these books. I tell you, in the city of Chicago, or in the city of New York, or in a small town in Georgia somewhere, even in the United States, we're not even talking going abroad. So long as you have 1 or 2 people that have memorized the whole Quran, you'll recover the whole book in a day. The whole book, we can recover it. How easy is that to do for other books? It's incredible that the book is preserved. Even if you get rid of the physical books, it's still around, right? So this is the number one primary reason of how the Quran is archived. And imagine if there were multiple versions, like you said. If there were multiple versions of the Quran, what would happen is some people would know a different version than others, right? And so you would have different, and it would spread like that.
Yeah.
But what you have now is consistency across hundreds of nations and hundreds of different people of different languages reciting the same exact thing. It is impossible. Even if you tried to put a new Quran in place, you took some surahs out or you edited some words and this is your own Quran, it wouldn't last a day because there's way too many people on the exact same message. Talk about corroborating witness, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually a miraculous means by which the Quran is preserved. So long as there are believers around, literally in the millions, that have memorized this book, you can't get rid of the Quran.
That's indeed a miracle.
It is.
That is amazing. Are there any kind of other miracles, things that are discussed in this Quran, that there's no way that someone living 1,400 years ago in the desert, you know, it's unfathomable that somebody can, you know, make something up that we just discovered today? Are there any examples of this?
See, I'll give you another kind of example. The Quran speaks in very precise terms. It says, وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ. If the Quran was from other than Allah,
yeah.
The Quran puts this hypothetical scenario. If the Quran was from other than Allah, لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. They would have found in it a lot of contradiction. They would have found a lot of contradictions in the Quran. What's interesting is, obviously, the text is talking about contradictions in the book.
Yeah.
But even the word اختلافًا, the word for contradiction, the way it's pronounced in that ayah, doesn't occur anywhere else in the Quran. You know, somebody could logically argue, well, I found another instance of that word. The Quran says you wouldn't have found a lot of contradiction, nor even the word contradiction. The logician might argue. Even the word, in 23 years of this Quran being revealed, the word اختلافًا, contradiction, in that form, in that specific pronunciation, doesn't occur again in the entire Quran. So the Quran it's incredibly precise in how it speaks. And imagine a person is speaking and delivering a message for 23 years. What are the chances of him avoiding that one word that isn't supposed to occur the second time? SubhanAllah. Similarly, the word ahad, when Allah says He's alone, ahad, unique. The word ahad occurs only once in the whole Quran.
Yeah.
And there are other mathematical nuances. For example, you have Surah Baqarah. Baqarah is the second surah, I don't like the word chapter, really, we should call it surah, of the Quran. It's made up of 286 ayat, common term verses. Again, I don't like the word verse, I like ayah better. I think it's proprietary. Anyhow, in Surah Baqarah there's a verse that says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. This is how we made you a middle nation. This is how we made you a middle nation. Now keep in mind, the Quran is recited. It's not documented, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. That came later on.
Yeah.
That statement, that we have made you a middle nation, occurs in ayah number 143 of a surah that is a total of 286. The ayah that says you are the middle nation occurs in the middle ayah, halfway through. 143 is half of 286 of the surah. Again, an oral tradition, a surah that was revealed different parts at different times and compiled over a long period of time. And yet, even then, look at the linguistic precision in the Quran. It's remarkable, and this is just 1 or 2 instances of nuance. There are hundreds and thousands of them. So the first was memorization.
Yeah.
The second, I can only allude to, which isn't really my main second point, is how